Da-na-na-na-na. Say it's your podcast.
Today is your podcast. Good night and good luck.
Yes. Black and white episode.
Yeah, I might fire one up later.
Seriously,
Let's do it. Yeah, I can do it.
Because you, everything else around just black.
The lighting will look better too. Well, welcome to a podcast unlike any other. Cheers and welcome to From Behind the Barcast, the podcast for bartending, service industry, drinking in general. I'm Paxton Eugene, and that's Golf Course Kelly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Strike Force Kelly.
Sorry.
This week, we're brought to you by Raw Ingredients on Tybee Island. Go get yourself some sushi and some bubble tea. Last night I worked.
Yeah, I did too.
And the stroke of midnight was my birthday.
Birthday boy.
But I left at 11:40.
Yeah.
And I love not having to do the rigmarole of birthday stuff, especially when, I don't know, a certain person's around. His name is Winkleman Twinkletits. Mr. Jason Self. He worked his first shift in a while last night, and he's going to be the Sunday guy.
He's back.
And we'll get to a little more of that later, but as I walked out, I went and told one of the, Tyler, one of the kitchen guys, I said, hey, I'm leaving, but at the stroke of midnight, will you go in and tell Wink?
Yeah.
And if you know Wink, you know.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you'll know him at some point. Yeah, you should. Will you tell him that it was my birthday at the stroke of midnight, and I'm here at home by myself playing Street Fighter, drinking a couple Twisted Teas and some Bouillet bourbon.
And that was a fine entry into your day?
Yeah, man.
Your
it's
day.
My day, man.
Yeah. This is your day.
It's my day.
I'm going to do what I want to do on my day.
So we'll get to that in a little bit.
Okay. All right.
But at a bar, when you work there, there's two types of what I would call the welcoming committees.
Okay.
And those are the wanted kind and the unwanted kind. All right. So, Kelly, let's say you were sitting at the bar and I was working, and someone came up, and they were looking at a menu, whatever, and they were sort of muttering something to themselves like, ooh, slice, I wonder if I should get two. And maybe you piped up and said something like, hey, just to let you know, the slices are really big.
Okay.
That's cool. That's fine.
I think so.
I had a guy yesterday. I had a few people yesterday. Every single person that walked up, number one, they're like, hey, he's going to get you in a second. Hey, bud, we got somebody here. You know, the assistant.
Yeah.
I'm good. It's a tiny bar that I work at. I get to everyone pretty quick. Yeah. But this guy, this type of welcoming committee, every single person that walked up, and I don't know if he did this purposely because I don't think he's this clever, but he put himself in a spot where I don't think anyone else wanted to sit around him because he sucked so bad. So inevitably, there was a little gap between him and the next person. So that became the corridor by which the people would come up and order.
Okay.
So people had to come up and be right next to him. Hey, what you getting?
Yeah.
Hey, one guy was like, what kind of bourbon do you have? I said, well, we have the Well, which is 10 high. We have Makers, which I don't even really, I mean, it's bourbon, but it's like sugar bourbon.
Okay.
I was like, we have Bullet. And he goes, oh, I'll take a Bullet. And the guy had seen me do a few shots of Bullet. And he was like, that gay ass shit.
Oh, no.
I was like, well, you're drinking Makers. And whether you have an opinion on it or not, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
And, I mean, objectively, is Bullet, like,
I
it is.
I wouldn't know because it's not my... It's never been really my lane.
I don't want to be right.
Yeah, you shouldn't be.
Ding.
Yeah, but no, I, you know, what part of my job is to kind of try to inform people what's going to happen about where they're going. You know, or give them basic ideas.
Certainly.
You know, I'm not saying maybe you've heard about a certain place by reputation, and you have this idea of what it's going to be like. I'm not saying every time you pull up to Pooh's, people are flying out windows, Roadhouse style, and flying down the stairs and all that. No, I mean, sometimes it's very tame.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
It's just another bar.
Yeah.
But I take them there and let them know, like, hey, if you get a slice, it's a pretty big slice. Pizza's this. It's a pretty big pizza. And traditionally, it's a pretty heavy pour. Just be mindful of that if you are drinking a mixed drink. So,
But would you be like, nah, you shouldn't get that?
No, I've never done that.
Take your mouth off my money, man.
Yeah.
And it's not even that. I'm not even trying to upset. You know, I'm not like, ooh, you should get, I don't tell a child to get 2 slices just because I want to, you know, get an extra $6 for the bar. But it's like, bro, no one asked you.
Right.
And they could ask me just as fine, and I could tell them.
Because it's your job.
Yeah, much better than you could. Yeah. Guy I've never seen before.
Oh, okay.
Who claims he makes 18 grand a week.
Of course he does.
With a goatee like that, you don't make 18 grand a week, buddy.
I don't know. Look at this thing.
No, yours is tasteful.
My chin mullet is just fine.
You can imagine that, like, you can imagine this guy's goatee.
Oh boy.
It looked like he looked like a 50-year-old living as a 20-year-old in 1999. Like weird earring, not in the earring place.
Oh.
So he's like 50-ish, weird earring, and the really thin goatee that's longer than it should be. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Are you visualizing this?
Yeah.
The only thing he was missing was an eyebrow ring, kinda, and Jinko jeans.
I was gonna say, was he bald? Possibly.
He
looked like something.
He didn't have a lot. He didn't have a lot. He had the weird balding where it was thin throughout.
Okay.
So his comb over was more like a coif over, where no matter where he put it, it wasn't going to make it look any different. But his muscle memory for combing it over, coiffing it over is such. Yeah. It's not like the guy at our local Walmart who literally has 3 strands of hair left that he grows out to like 3 feet, and then designs it like when you swirl the icing on your toaster strudel. He makes like a map, a topographical map on his baldness with the one long strand of hair that he still has.
It catches the wind just right. And
he's kingpin. Yeah.
I love that.
So this guy, like that's my start to the day when I get in there. And the first thing he's like, let me get a double makers and diet. I was like, sure, man. And his cup was already like half full. So I just made him like a single. And he didn't say anything. Well, I didn't realize this because he was like sort of special needs apparently. Oh. Because I started not to understand him, and he was talking to people. Well, he did save me a little bit though.
Okay.
Well, not me. Well, I didn't do anything wrong, but something unfortunate happened.
Okay.
So I got a friend that I work with, and so I have the guest checkbook, that I write pizza orders down on and stuff like that.
Right.
I give those out to people when I give them their credit card slips, for them to bear down on so that they can write on the ticket, because our bar top is not conducive for writing legibly.
It's smooth enough, but not for that.
There's still some craggles in there. You're going to poke through it a little bit.
Absolutely.
Excuse me while I take a sip of this super gay bullet.
Birthday bullet.
Probably tastes like a penis. I love it.
Just what a crappy way to, number one, describe a drink, because all of a sudden you're obviously drawing a line in the sand about how you feel about the world and things in general, that you would even phrase it that way.
That's your your whatever the word is.
Yeah.
That's what you choose.
Go right to
that tells me a lot of things about you in one sentence.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think I'm overthinking that at all.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
So I have a girl that I work with, Mafe, shout out. One of my ticket books, she picked it up and wrote whore on it. It was a little note for me, whore.
Sweet.
It was funny,
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Oh.
Yet.
Oh. Okay.
I didn't see it yet. I wasn't the first person to see it. Young lady comes up to the bar next to said gentleman, and all I hear is her going, "Are you feeling my muscles?" And I turn around, and the guy's like, I think he was touching her shirt because it was like some funny fabric.
Okay.
She's taking it kind of well, though. She's like, hey, buddy, what, are you feeling my muscles? Like, she was kind of making a joke out of it a little bit.
Right. Okay.
Even though she was probably uncomfortable. Well, maybe not because of the interaction. Okay. Right. So she gets 2 drinks. I go ahead and cash her out. I give her the booklet and her credit card and her credit card slip. Uh-huh. I turn around and she goes, excuse me. Yeah. She goes, was this meant for me? And she holds up the ticket book and says whore on it.
Oh, no.
So she's really cute.
Oh.
And I look at her, I was like, is it?
Are you?
Which she took super well. Like, she probably understood that.
Yeah.
I didn't write whore on there before I gave it to
Well, being touched by a stranger, and then having whore written on, I mean, all right, we're 2 for 2 on weird shit happening at this bar. What's the third thing that's going to make me want to never come here again?
But the thing I wanted to be like, I didn't write that, I mean, I know I didn't.
Yeah.
But
that's a female's handwriting.
But,
you can tell.
Yeah, can't you see? But she was taking it so well that we had a nice moment.
That's cool.
And she didn't get the chance to really overthink it either because Buddy was like, "Oh man, I would never come back here." He said some dumb shit.
Yeah.
So yes, honey, you're not a whore. I mean, even if you are, I don't know. I mean, she was cute.
Moments in the dark.
She was cute. I got a message last night from a local person who was out in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, right on.
And he was at a bar and talking to the bartender, and somehow he mentioned Tybee.
Oh.
And the bartender in Denver said, "Oh, I listened to a podcast from Tybee."
F off.
From Mind the Barcast.
Really?
Yeah. So I messaged him. I said, "Dude, thanks for, letting me know. Tell me the name of the person in the bar and I'll shout him out." And he never got back to me. So if it's you,
I would follow through with that.
Yeah, I'm going to keep trying. He still hadn't messaged me back today.
That's incredibly interesting.
But that's really great though. And I'm like, but we know a few people in Denver,
Right.
And I mean, if it is one of our friends, they are our friends. Hello, friends.
Yes.
But I'm just wondering if it's like a pure stranger, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
But we've been to Denver. I've been many times. You've been a handful of times.
Yeah.
Because we always stay in Denver when we go to Red Rocks Amphitheater.
Right.
And we have a million great stories about Denver. One of which is the first time Wink went out there.
Yeah.
And we all go to a bar and we all order, our craft beers or whatever.
No, wrong.
Well, aside from Wink, who got a Coors Light, which
Thank
was
God.
which was $1 more. He goes, I thought y'all brewed this shit here. Ain't that shit made in Colorado? It's gonna be $7, and they got some double hop Crescent Moon IPA, and it's $5. When Wink being Wink,
Yeah.
it was a thing. I remember we had our bucks is what we called it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a Starbucks when we were there. It was our bucks because it was connected to our hotel, and we were at the hotel after the show down there smoking a DMT pen. Because they had a little patio outside. And downtown Denver at night, when you're really downtown, like as nice and, not cosmopolitan, but, it's like a crunchy town,
Apparently.
But on the streets in downtown Denver at night, man, it's like, it might as well be New York City.
And a quick aside, when we were down there at the R-Bucks, initially the idea was to take said pen and find a parking deck somewhere, get a little view of the expanse, of Denver, downtown Denver and all that. But everything had a chain link door. There was no parking decks to sneak up into that weren't properly secured without a pass. No, anything. So that's kind of how we kind of redirected and recalibrated and came back.
We're going to stay around the house.
Yeah, and turned our Starbucks into our bucks. But we were trying to find some place to kind of blast off.
But then we started blasting off in that little patio, and we were all just fine. And the thing was, like, there was only one crackhead or whatever head that actually approached us. And he kept trying to say something, and I was like, I know I'm tripping pretty hard, but he's still not making any sense.
I don't know if you were down there when the guy came up, because I think he wanted a cigarette, but instead of just saying, "Hey, don't worry about it," and all that, he wanted to give Austin a song.
Of course. Oh, so he was like a troubadour train kid?
No.
Not a train kid?
Straight up.
Because they're willing to trade some songs.
Guy. Yeah, but no, this is your prototypical, well, I don't want to say genre or gender or anything like that, but, but not,
street
train
person.
Kid. Yeah, but no, it wasn't, he wanted to give something back. So an awful song. Acapella, but he just had to serenade.
What was
Austin.
it? Sam Cooke, Change Gonna Come, and I know
it was like, he was like, "What's your name?" It was like Austin.
It was
You're so beautiful. It was, I mean, slightly uncomfortable, totally unnecessary.
But hey,
he did a serenade and he moved on. So there was that.
So yeah, okay.
But he had, I guess he just figured.
Hey, you know what, man? He was just getting right with the universe, man.
I'm going to put this out in the world. You gave me something, I'm going to give you something back. Maybe that's not, a tangible material thing.
Yeah.
But,
well, I had in downtown Savannah, I had a train kid. This is a while ago. I lived, the buddy that I lived with, they had a roommate that was a girl, and she had a boyfriend, and we all went downtown one night, and some train kids came out, and these are like camoed out, 2 dogs,
right,
guitars, backpack, army sacks, train kids.
Yeah.
A hat not unlike the one you're wearing right now. And the guy comes up and he goes, hey, could I trade you an awesome song for a sip of your beer?
Okay. How about...
So I poured some beer in his cup. He had like a metal chalice.
Oh, okay, thank God.
Not unlike, I wasn't going to let him lip my shit.
Yeah, just take my beer.
Not unlike Doc Holliday in Tombstone, where he's flipping it around, making fun of Johnny Ringo for slinging his gun around.
If you know, you know.
So I poured it in there, and he starts going ding, 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 ding. I was like, oh. He's never played guitar. He just got this from somewhere because he didn't sing or anything.
Right.
Well, anyways, so the boyfriend of my roommate's roommate, whatever, he runs off with those train kids and is never to be seen again that night.
Wow.
He was like, "It's a train life for me now." Maybe the siren song of this 4-string guitar.
Maybe the universe just comes into focus. It all just makes sense. Like, this is all I need: a duffel bag.
No Country for Old Men. When I got older, I thought trains would just come into my life.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds more existential than just like a spur of the moment.
He was just waiting on the sign from the universe, I guess.
It comes in many ways.
I mean, yeah.
You really never know what it could be.
But so shout out to our friends in Denver. We'll find out what bar it is.
Yeah, we got to. I mean, maybe it was somebody from the area. Maybe it was somebody taking a little piece of home along with them. That's great.
Yeah.
But if it's just a random, I don't know.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful either way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, I think the first time we were in Denver at a Red Rock show, I don't think you were there. Yeah, it was me, Austin, Emily, Wink. And we had gotten... we'd boozed up. That was our first year going, all of us, I think, or second year maybe. Mm-hmm. All of us. And so we stocked up on a bunch of stuff for the hotel, like booze and snacks and dispensaries were going on then. So lots of weed and stuff that we couldn't take back. But we had noticed all the streeters out there. So before we left, we had like 3 half bottles of 1 tequila, 1 Tito's, 1 something, some beers, some weed. Food that we weren't going to take back.
Yeah.
So we went and got a little, like portable cooler from the store, filled it up with all of our leftovers and stuck it near one of the train kids or, one of the street people's enclaves before we left. So some street person.
Okay. So you didn't give it somebody directly.
No. We just stuck it.
For the lucky passerby who decided to take a chance.
Because the time we were leaving was like, noon in an afternoon.
Right.
So none of them were out there running around at that time, but we put it in a place where we knew they frequented.
That's a cool idea. Seriously.
Why throw it away?
Yeah. And not call it whatever level. I'm not saying societal desperation or whatever, but they're going to look past the idea that is there something weird in this half-empty bottle of vodka?
Right.
They're not remotely concerned about it being laced with something or it's like, holy shit.
Well, and like I don't believe in like karmic retribution or anything like that. I think that's woo-woo, But the thing is, I've been lucky with ground scores at concerts, festivals before, stuff like that. Ground scores of all types.
Oh yeah.
But I think just by the way we put it there, the intention was known that it wasn't like, hey, let's poison a train kid.
Right.
Yeah. And why waste your poison on people you don't know?
Serial, what's the word? Silent benefactor poisoning train kids all over downtown Denver. Do not, if you see an empty cooler, it's like luggage in an airport. Call somebody.
If you see something, say something.
Yeah, see something, say something. Yeah. No, that's actually a really good idea. I mean, traditionally, I don't leave much behind.
No, normally, that was the most I've ever left behind.
Yeah. But, when Marty and I went out there to Red Rocks for our little journey out there,
you saw Marshmallow?
Dead Mouse. Dead
Okay,
Mouse,
yeah, well, yeah.
But it was kind of one of these things. I wanted to do something besides just Humphreys or that ilk and all that. And
we do that a lot.
Yeah. So and to get Martin to a dispensary, that was also top 2-3 things we were gonna really number one. Show was gonna happen regardless. But I just had to remind him, like, brother, wheels on the ground 72 hours. We've only got so much lung power and time. And Marty gets the job done.
He can put them down.
Yeah, you can put it away and all that. But we were
because he's still like a pure flower guy, right? I mean, I'm sure he has a pen, but
he's kind of whatever just bring it.
But I think he prefers analog for the most part.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
he smells like it. And but we were at the airport. They had those little amnesty stations. So just in case you forgot it.
Oh, right, yeah.
So no judgment, no foul, but that kind of thing.
Just don't get on the plane with the shit.
Yeah. So, but we're out there with our little, pens, just chugging them, trying to. I was like, brother, I start whistling taps. I'm like, dude,
we're already going to be high.
You got to throw it away. You got to leave it behind. And he was just like, just going, and then finally, like, we got to go.
Yep.
But I mean, but that was such a small amount. It really wasn't anything to leave behind. But yeah, if I had like several bottles of stuff, that's a really great idea going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, because normally there's not a sip left behind typically, but there's only 4 of us and we were at a hotel, so we weren't like sharing with other people at like a house party. Because typically now when we go out there, we know someone that has it. We always stay in a hotel, but we'll have a house of people that we go to and we'll share our stuff there. Yeah. But would you hand me that bullet over there? Thank you, sir. Kind gentleman. So Wink was out there with us, and Wink is back permanently on Sunday nights now, I believe, at Huckapoo's Bites and Booze.
Same as it ever was last night.
And I'll tell you, it was the same as it. Now, I'm so aloof, I guess, that this entire incident happened while I was there, and I had no idea at all. Okay. So typically it's Wink's fault.
Okay.
Or he plays a role in stuff.
Involved.
He'll be involved, like, heightening the. He's not bad at it, but like he's energetic.
Yes.
And if something's wrong, he won't. He doesn't want it to be wrong. Like he wants to take care of the house, basically.
Right. I wouldn't quite call him an instigator necessarily,
no.
But he's not necessarily a diffuser.
Right. Yeah, he's not de-escalating, but he's also not escalating. Yeah. He's just escalating.
Yeah.
I guess. So apparently there's this big biker guy there, right? Big old boy. And he's inside, and something happened inside where it was like, hey, buddy, you got to go. So Wink tries to get him out, and the guy goes, I will kill you. So typical Wink, he would be like, no. He goes, you know what? It's my first day back. Let me go get Boss Man.
Right.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
Boss Man comes out. He goes, you got to go, buddy. The guy's kind of conceding. And he's a really big guy.
Okay.
And no, Boss Man is a big guy too. But he's bigger than his heart is bigger than his body though.
I got you.
You're not going to beat Boss Man with physicality. You got to have heart.
Yeah.
Gumption.
He does. In spades.
So he gets the guy outside, and the guy's pretty cooperative until then. And then all of a sudden, he reaches down the back of his pants and brandishes a large bladed knife.
Oh, whoa. Okay. Are we talking like Dundee style knife or?
A la Dundee.
Oh, that's a knife.
No. See, I don't know the size of the knife, but I heard it was pretty big.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a Dundee knife, but a la Crocodile Dundee, but not word for word. Right. But Boss Man goes, what do you think you're going to do with that little thing? I'll beat your old ass with it.
Nice.
And I guess that was the magic sentence because the guy was like, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Puts it away and leaves. If someone laughs at your knife and is like, I will take it and beat your old ass with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might not be a fight you want to fight.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I heard it was a gun. That shows you how the grapevine on Tommy works in the span of 3 hours.
You catch a fish, it's one side. Really?
Yep. I heard it was a gun.
Substitute that. It wasn't. But yeah. Well, substitute that. I'll take that gun and beat your old ass.
3 breezy rides back and forth across the island. I didn't know the whole incident, but I heard.
I was there and I didn't know, but it did happen at the other door at the other side of the bar. I was like, when did this happen? They go, 6:30.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, if you take on one employee at Pooh's, you're pretty much taking on Pooh's.
Employees, customers, the guy down the street,
yeah,
a drone will come in.
Yeah, if you want to be a big biker dude and all that, if you had a squad with him, maybe things would have gone another way. But if you're going after one person at Pooh's who works there, you're pretty much taking the whole staff on. The kitchen went empty immediately if there was something going on outside of one of you guys. Whether you're a server or a runner or bartender or whatever. It's I mean, dude, it even extends to the Breezy family to a certain degree. I've only had a couple of instances where people have had to kind of step in, but I like that. I like the idea that someone's got my back, even though I didn't start anything. I just had some
it doesn't matter.
Jackass.
Doesn't matter who starts it, who finishes it, brother. It's just like the Masters. You can't win it on Thursday, but you sure can lose it. Yep. Now, the week of my birthday is typically the week of the Masters and other things, Mm-hmm. And you went.
I did
this year.
Yeah, I did.
You went to the Friday round.
Yes.
But you were given a charge to return with pimento cheese sandwiches.
Oh yeah.
And something else. So did you follow through?
I did. I had a request to get some food from the concession stand. So 4 pimento cheese, 2 Masters clubs, 2 chicken salads. And that was the original order. Then I threw in some chips and some cheese straws and a little moon pie with the Masters on the wrapper and all that.
Okay.
A smaller version, like almost the size of an Oreo. And so I brought that back. And it was like 8 sandwiches, 2 bags of little, lunch-sized chips, a couple of desserts, and $24 just for that. Yeah, it's just.
But considering, like, we go to concerts, Now, let's say they sold palmetto cheese sandwiches at concerts we went to. They'd probably be $8 a piece, something like that. And what are they, $2.50 out there at the Masters?
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah.
The most expensive sandwich is $3. I think it's maybe the barbecue in the club.
Sure.
But pretty much everything else, I think, is just like $1.50 or $2.
So, I got to ask this. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, being at the course was fun and all that stuff, but were you able to find the car afterwards?
Very easily. Thank you. And I give all the credit in the world to my nephew, Dalton. He saw the car. We were, you know what? It was, I didn't go with you this year, okay? So it wasn't the same shenanigans, okay? Take it easy.
You're saying you losing the car last year was my fault?
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
Well, so it was a good time, though?
Yes, it was a very good time.
And on Sunday, so I was able to watch most of the second half at work, but the Breezy Riders said, hey, Kelly, why don't you wait until the round's over, because they know you love golf, before you had to go to work, which is great.
Well, I wouldn't ever ask for it, number one. And I'm more or less from Augusta. My mom still lives there. I've got family there. I've been out there quite a bit, more than most people have the luxury to. It was very easy at one time. Then Tiger won, changed everything. Now it's a little harder to get out there. But
yeah. So being out there as long and as many times and living there as you have, the sea change literally happened when Tiger won or started winning.
In 97.
That was a definite.
Yeah. Prior to that, you could walk up for a practice round, get a little paper lanyard, and just walk on in, that kind of thing. But things have obviously changed. But it was Friday was fun. The weather was great, and my nephew Dalton has been a chef out there. He doesn't work there full time, but during they bring in added staff during Masters Week because everything's just amplified by 100 in Augusta, And so he worked out there a few different times, but he'd only really been out there to the course once as an adult last year, and parked it at 18 with his girlfriend or one of the holes and just watch everybody just go on by, which is not a bad way to experience the course and all that if you've been out there a few times.
Yeah, but for your first time, it seems like you're not getting the full experience. So you were his Sherpa.
Yeah, when he was working, there's no time. You're pretty much working 20-hour days.
Any chefs there?
Yeah. And you just bust your ass for 2 weeks because there's a whole week of things, behind the scenes leading up to the actual week of it. And but no, so we're kind of getting down into the course. We saw a few people tee off, and we got a beer at the very first concession stand by the pro shop, and we're meandering around, and he runs out of beer, and he's like, kind of, looking around and kind of like starting to head towards back towards where we came from. I'm like, where you going, bud? He goes, well, I'm going to get a beer. He didn't know that there were concession stands down in the mix and all that all scattered around the course.
I mean, anywhere you stand, you're probably 100 steps from some sort of concession.
3 holes of some sort.
Yeah.
I think, something along those lines.
And you're 100 steps away from an efficient, cheap, fast concession experience.
Yeah, and we covered all this last year when we talked about it. And the only thing that was really different, beers went up $1, which is fine. Doesn't matter. $6 is still $6. But it was kind of like going with you last year, kind of seeing it through your eyes for the first time.
And that's got to be fulfilling. You're like,
yeah.
And him asking you questions like, oh, what does this mean? What does that mean?
Right. And
that's got to be great.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not, a historian by any stretch.
No, but he had no knowledge.
Yeah, about how the course itself is just how it was laid out and just the way it just all just kind of, I mean, you're walking across one hole on, the front side, the front 9 and or whatever the hell it is, the first 9.
First 9 and the second 9.
And then next thing you know, you're, at Amen Corner, even though you just walked across 2 holes on, it's just, it's a hell. It's.
Would you say it's a tradition unlike any other?
Of course it is. And it looked great. Short version of Helene, but blowing everything up in Augusta. It blew up the National too. But honestly, you would never know. There were certain parts, maybe about tops of the tree lines, a little more shredded than usual. But as far as everything else, you would never ever know that a hurricane just tore that place apart 8 months ago.
And speaking of the upkeep of not necessarily just the grounds, but like the upkeep of the vibe around there. Yeah. And we spoke about it a little bit earlier, where maybe it wasn't like a checkbox where like every 5th person, an employee had to say, "Oh, hey, really love your sweater," or "Hey, hope you're having a nice day."
Where are you from?
But I'm sure somewhere in the bylaws, whenever you sign up to volunteer there or work there, they're like, "Hey, every so often, just interact with someone, whatever it may be."
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a disingenuous thing.
They are definitely presenting an image. I don't think it's a false front by any means and all that. They want everybody to feel not necessarily like they're a member, but they're welcomed.
Right.
If you have a question,
you made it, man.
Yeah. You're here.
Yeah.
And if you have a question, even if I don't know the answer, I'll find somebody who will, if you can give me a minute.
Yeah, and they're not
no matter what their job is.
They're not gatekeeping you like, oh, well, how did you end up getting here? Right. Oh, did someone give you a ticket? Never mind. We're not treating you the same as other people.
No, they treat everybody the absolute same.
Well, I was thinking of the concept of that, and the reason I don't think it's disingenuous is because, let's say, like, in our jobs, not everyone's happy all the time. But out there at the Masters, most people are probably in a pretty good mood because you're looking at beautiful things. Everything's cheap in the sense of like, it's just like going to a bar basically.
Yeah.
It's not, they don't stab you, they don't gouge the prices of beers and stuff like that. Everything's super efficient. Yep. There's guys wiping off toilet seats, whatever.
Yeah.
So as an employee, I would think the vibe you create by saying, "Hey, I like your sweater." Like me and my buddies used to do this. We'd call it like a validation night.
Sure.
Where when we would go out on the town, a couple of boys, we would just say, "Hey, man, I love your posture," or, well done. Benign stuff, but not disingenuous.
Right.
Just find something to be like, "Hey, man," and not like creepy, like, hey, girl, you got some cake back there.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? But you're like, "Hey, man, you're killing that fedora," and not many people can do that.
Well, I'll tell you, as I was buying this grocery list of stuff for my friends, and I was very happy to do it, and but I realized I had to do it on the way out, and Dalton kind of got up into another line, so he I don't know, all of a sudden he's not there, but I needed some help carrying things because I'm trying to carry like 8 sandwiches and all this stuff and all that. 4 things fall out of my arms, and a security guard came up of all people, helped me pick it up, carry it to the cashier. And he goes, "Man, you need a third hand, brother," and all that. I was like, "Well, I had a nephew around here somewhere, but he disappeared." Yeah. So we had a nice little thing. And
you don't want me to pull out my third arm, am I right?
Yeah, but he carried the other sandwiches up there for me. He goes, "Man, you got your hands full. Let me help you out there." And he stood there. Not that he was worried about me paying or not paying and all that, but he stood there. And he goes, "You got any help?" And I was like, "Actually, I have a nephew because we had a bag, from the pro shop with some other things so I could put everything in there to carry it out." But he was like. I'm not saying he was willing to go to the car with me, but it almost felt like it. And he was a security guard. It was like he could have just been totally just like, "Tough luck, dude."
Yeah. Oh, so you drop some.
Make 2 trips.
Yeah, hurry up.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, we get out of the walkway.
But yeah, it sounds weird, or it comes across maybe in hokey to some people who are just kind of a little disenfranchised with the world they live in. But it's probably one of the nicest places you can go.
It really is,
for
dude.
a sporting event.
So I don't know if this was by osmosis or whatever, but another idea around who's going to end up being, we'll get to that in a second. The guy that I really didn't like, the welcoming committee. My Sunday at work was filled with people that I really loved and really great interaction. So there was lots of smiles, haze. Like I was putting out as much happiness because I felt good.
Yeah.
And that was super fulfilling for me because it was just magic sort of, you know? And, so them the employees at the Masters doing that, like it's got to be just as fulfilling for them to spark the interactions with people by saying, "Hey, where are you from?"
Yeah.
"Hey, I like your sweater," or whatever, because that continually keeps the vibe of like, "Hey, man,
yeah,
let's look at what's happening here. This is pretty great."
Yeah, I think call it maybe premeditated or just something. Let's keep the happiness level up. Let's keep the interactions positive, no matter what they are, and
and that's contagious.
And I'm certain there are people who've been escorted off the course for any reason. I'm certain there are people who didn't have the best day out there because their relationships
that's
in the toilet or whatever and all that. But as far as like anything, that the course is involved in, it's, well thought out.
Right.
Any scenario is
there's a quick and efficient way to sort it.
To navigate this, whatever the case.
And everything's clearly.
Yeah. We could have done it last year, which I didn't know they did this. There was a whole other thing where you could go around to the front of the clubhouse and get your picture taken. Four different little spots depending on where you were in the queue. The clubhouse is here, the little map of they got some national logos right there and yellow flowers, and it's free. They just give you a little QR code on your business card, and 3 hours later there's a free picture. Apparently they did it last year. I wish I'd known that because I would absolutely have done that, because that was one thing I lamented more than anything than losing the car was like, man, I wish we had something outside of beer cups, to kind of commemorate.
Yeah, because you took some umbrage with me because I had stacked up 10 beer cups maybe, and I tossed 6 of them or 5 of them. You go, are you serious?
To somebody who would have loved them.
I didn't even think of that, but I just had a wizard staff.
Dude, I've been there. Yeah, I get it.
And not knowing that we would spend 2 hours looking for the car afterwards.
Yeah. Well, let's not go down that road again.
I wasn't gonna. Yeah, I was gonna.
We were like the Hobbit.
Well, anyway, so I was basically a Masters employee yesterday at work.
Mm. I was wondering if you had a crowd that was there to watch.
No, not really. The thing was, people were watching. There were interested people, but the crowd wasn't there. We had a Tybee Tour de Art thing yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just a lot of people, but everyone was basically interested in the Masters, but not,
You have to kind of realize not everybody in the world cares about sports,
but people do care about a story.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But so let's just get to it.
Sure.
This guy was my.
Oh shit! It's the Karen of the week. It's the Karen of the week.
Oh shit! My Karen of the week, same guy, goatee guy, $18K a week, quaff over. The Masters is on. I got a few people very interested that I'm chatting a little bit with. One of those people being the guy that ordered the bullet on the rocks. Okay. And so we're sitting there chatting. I was like, because we were busy enough where I couldn't watch every shot.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But they would keep me abreast. I would walk out, from taking an order. And he'd be like, Rory dropped one, or so-and-so put it in the water. So we had this thing going. I also had a thing going with most of the people at the bar. Like a lot of my favorite people were there. We had Jake, we had Kay, a lot of it's hugs, it's kisses, it's vibe. Yeah. And this fucking dude is getting none of that from anyone. And I can watch his dissension. Why the fuck do they like this guy? Why the fuck do they like that dude back there? So this new couple walks up and they bite the bullet a woman walks up. Now the woman, she reads, as I profile, she reads as, she's going to ask how much things are. Okay. She's going to...
You could tell her every slice is the same price, and she still asks you. So if I did this,
That was what
So
I
you're
thought.
saying if I did these
Yeah.
3 things.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was what I thought. And then she sits down and goes, "Can I have a Long Island iced tea?" I was like, "God damn it. Okay, I was right." But I wasn't.
Oh.
So she gets the LIT and she's sitting next to Darren. And he goes, "I'll get that drink for her." I was like, "Sure, man."
All right.
She's like, "Yeah, thank you." She's like, I'll probably order a slice here in a little bit. She turns out to be just lovely.
Cool.
So maybe like 5 or 10 minutes roll by, and a gentleman, not unlike how she looks, comes up next to her, turns out to be her husband.
Oh. Okay.
So then they start interacting with Darren, and they're being really pleasant, and I'm not paying too much attention to the interaction,
Okay. All right.
but I can tell, like,
I was going to ask, were they just playing along?
they were.
Okay.
It turned out that they were.
They weren't really engaged. They were just playing along with
Yeah,
this
they're
guy.
just like, "Okay, cool, man. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You make $18K a week. Cool, man.
All
Yeah."
right.
So they're starting to have that, and the guy is visibly upset that she's not alone. But he's already offered to pay for the drink, so he's paying for it.
Okay.
And I'm sort of loving the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm like, fuck this guy. I don't even want to like talk too much about him. But when it came down to him getting the bill,
Yeah.
I gave it to him. He goes, "Why is it this much?" I said, "Because you bought her drink." There's the couple's still sitting there.
He had buyer's remorse at that point.
Yeah. Oh, of course, 100%. And the woman looked at him and goes, "You said you would buy it."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I get it.
So he begrudgingly paid for it, and it didn't tip as much as he typically would have, I don't think. So then he leaves, but then the couple sitting there, they're like, "What's up with that dude?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Guys, literally never seen him before, and you guys were pretty gracious."
Right. You played it as well as you could.
Yeah,
Or tolerated it.
Yeah, tolerated it. And man, I'm telling you, I profile really well. I'm pretty good at it normally.
Yeah.
But I did not see the light in these people. And then I did. And then the rest of my night was just amazing after that.
Right.
But the thing this fucking guy kept doing, which made him even more of a Karen,
Yeah.
was nothing would happen on the course. We're watching them, the Masters. "There's that motherfucker." I'm like, is he talking about a person? And he's talking about a golfer, which this guy,
Right.
he don't play no golf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's not.
He probably thinks it's gay.
So, you're right. Yeah.
Jesus.
So then anytime anyone
Awful
would be
person.
happy about
Yeah.
a good shot or whatever, he would say something like, that piece of shit. So I'm thinking every time I hear this exultation from him, I think something happens on the course, but it's literally just because they cut to like a shot of the crowd,
Right.
and he would have some fucking comment about it.
Yeah. F that guy.
I hated him.
Well, I'm not like, to the point where I'm such a fanatic where it's like, it's Masters Sunday from Augusta. I'm taking the whole weekend off so I can watch this on TV or go, that kind of thing and all that. But Sunday, Ron was very gracious, and, because traditionally I work on Sundays by myself. And he's like, "Hey, not even opening with like, I know you really want to watch this. You're from Augusta," and all. He goes, I'll start the shift and all that. And when it's over, then I'll give you the phone, and then you can pick up like you normally do on Sunday and all that. So I watched it with Lee and Joey, and I watched. I came over really when Rory and Bryson DeChambeau started. That was kind of like my window. I watched some of it at my house on my computer, masters.org. Visit it, and then went over there to watch that part. And I tell you, I don't know what kind of if you're into football, a purist, or baseball, or basketball, or hockey, or any number of things and all that. But there is some drama and storylines that go into certain moments in sports, athletic endeavors. And in this case, it was Rory McIlroy, who had never won the Masters, has won all three of the other majors.
Looking for his career Grand Slam.
Career Grand Slam, which only other five other guys have done, and we're talking a Mount Rushmore of golf.
And
the names of names.
He's been close at the Masters before as well. So this is the story. It's there
every year. For 10 years, more or less, he's been part of. Is it's this the year? And you kind of think, well, he's only 35. Time's not slipping away quite yet.
Yeah.
But you're like, maybe.
But an Irish 35 is like an American 45.
But being out there on Friday, there wasn't much drama. It was where they kind of set the cut line. You kind of see who's going to be around for the weekend. Saturday, I got to watch a portion of it before work and all that. But Sunday, Ron was like, watch it. So it was me, Lee, and Joey. And, it was probably, I think, one of the best final rounds I've ever watched. Tiger, the 1 year in 97 was transcendent and really changed golf, as far as how it's viewed and the payments that go out and any number of other things about how it's done. But traditionally he's always in the lead. By Sunday, he's in cruise control. He's not losing if he's 5 shots ahead on Sunday. So it takes kind of some of the, you're seeing history being made.
But
he keeps
there's
stacking
no parity.
He's stacking achievements. But this one moment, whether you hate, McIlroy or not, or you have some version of the Live Tour versus the PGA, which I don't give.
I don't give a shit about. I want the story, man.
Right. And he was the story,
by
far. Is this the year? And it was. But it was
going to a playoff.
Coaster. Oh, dude!
All the things were there, and him winning. Like, I don't have like a favorite golfer necessarily. Right. I don't think, but I'll pull for the. I don't pull against anyone except Patrick Reed.
Yeah.
As long as he's not winning, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But I wanted the story, and then for them to go to the playoff hole.
Yeah.
And Rose out there on the driving range, like, oh, are we going to the playoff? I'll be there in a second.
Yeah.
Kind of taking his time getting up there. But
there's still mind games going on.
Of course, but I love the story.
And any other year outside of this one, I really wouldn't have cared who won necessarily, especially if they were a first timer. Like Rose, I know who he is. Gentleman, Englishman, and all that.
But it's about the story.
DeChambeau is a YouTube sensation in the past year or so. So he's kind of changed. What people preconceived about him as a person, trying to muscle his way around a course. But he's got some work to do on his game. Let's not get into that. But Rory was the story, and it played out in.
Rory was the story.
One minute he looked like every weekend duffer, somebody who just plays for fun, and then the next minute he's making these shots. It was just up and down and up and down, and just when you think he's got it in the bag, something just inexplicable. And that was the word, I'm sure they tried not to say the same things over and over again, on the broadcast.
But that's got to get tough.
It had to be said at least 15 times, like what just happened. That's the most inexplicable choice, or all these things. But any other year, I wouldn't have cared who'd won necessarily. But to kind of be sort of being the I don't want to say bear witness, but be alive and around to say, what. I remember when Jack won his last green jacket. Jack Nicklaus won his last green jacket. I remember when Tiger won his first green jacket. And now I can say I was at least there that weekend.
It's about the story, man.
Yeah. And as far as golf, I don't see, a much better one, especially the way he did it, because it wasn't easy. He didn't make it easy.
Yeah, he played anybody. 1 under for the day, right?
He was over. Yeah, he actually he shot a 73. So he didn't move at all. Everybody was coming to him. It was all over the map.
Yeah, it was great, man. And we talked about earlier, so we were drinking Michelob Ultras.
Yes, we were.
Last week. We switched to Tall Boys of High Life.
We're going back. We came back
this week. Hey, man, we're all journeymen. We step out of the...
Every great drive, the ball has to land again,
But... talking about celebrating championships. So we were drinking those Ultras last week, and I guess my phone heard me, because then it presented me with, so in lieu of champagne popping bottles for some championship, they made 49 minutes. I'll put a picture up. They made Michelob Ultra bottles that look like champagne bottles.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, the Impetus. Okay. So you ever tried to chug champagne?
Yes.
It's nearly impossible.
It really is.
It foams up so bad.
It does.
Now, do you want to be sprayed? Would you rather be sprayed with champagne or a Mick Ultra? Or would you rather drink one or the other?
All right, well, I've been sprayed by both. I think beer stinks worse the next day probably than champagne does. But I think if you've ever watched like the end of the World Series or the NBA championship or anything, if they have access to the locker room, you'll see a lot of guys wearing goggles. They got all the lockers covered up with plastic and stuff like that, obviously, and all that. But you'll see a lot of guys wearing goggles. Champagne stings your eyes. It's like mace. It's like
And tell me how you know that.
Because on my 21st birthday, back in the day, a millennia ago, it feels like now. I walked in the door of my apartment, and my roommates just hit me with like 5 bottles of Andre champagne, and my eyes I felt like I'd been maced. I was laughing but crying, like trying to turn
You're like,
away.
hey, thanks, guys, but good God.
Yeah, but now I understand why these guys in these locker rooms wear goggles, like ski goggles or whatever.
So
it stings the eyes.
So with NBA championships or any championship that would spray champagne, I wonder if the more expensive the champagne, the less it burns your eyes. Probably not.
It doesn't seem like it because, like I said, I don't know if it's Andre or Bollinger, but like I said, it stings the eyes. Now beer, I don't remember it stinging my eyes. I remember going, I got beer in my eyes, but that's about
I'm just saying, like, so I was against the Mick.
Do I have a preference? No.
Yeah, I was against the Mick Ultra champagne bottle only because it's like, what a douchey move to be like, let's have Ultra instead of whatever. But I've turned. Okay. I've changed my opinion because I don't want to chug a bottle of champagne. There's not enough alcohol in it. Number one.
Yeah.
Not that there's more alcohol in a champagne-sized bottle of Ultra, but I can drink a champagne bottle full of Ultra, and it won't get over foamy. I can chug it. I would enjoy that more.
I think no one's getting drunk in the locker room after a championship.
No, understood.
It's a ceremonial thing.
No, understood, but yeah.
And I think what it is a branding / marketing opportunity like everything else.
And it's smart.
Why can't we put a name on this?
Sure.
Does it have to be champagne? We put it up there. We make this new, aluminum bottle.
Yeah.
Why not put a logo on it and make some money off of it?
That's smart marketing, yeah.
I mean, I can't help but feel that's a consideration. Something like that.
Yeah. We're popping.
Because they're not going like, that's Bollinger they're spraying all over it.
Sure, it just doesn't work in rap lyrics. We're popping Ultra champagne bottles like we won a campaign championship. Ultra.
There's somebody out there somewhere.
There should be.
Who's close to it.
You know what? I think Lil Bug Bite could make a song.
Lil Bug Bite might be the guy.
I think Lil Bug Bite.
But no, when you first showed me the picture, I thought it was maybe European, and that's just how they wrap it around over there. Because I think Coke bottles are shaped differently depending where you go in the world.
Sure, yeah.
And stuff. So that's all I thought.
And they don't have poison in them when they're in Europe.
Yeah.
So let's end on a couple. Since it's my birthday, and we're gonna go do Miles Monday after this.
Right on.
It is my birthday. Let's end on some positive things.
Okay.
2 positive things. Number 1, when you were in Augusta, I went and cat sat like I normally do, and I watched about 4 episodes of the new season of Love on the Spectrum.
Brother, you are stuck on that.
It's a new man, and let me tell you something. For a guy who doesn't feel a lot of things a lot of times, that show delivers every time. There's a few new people on there, I can just vibe with them. I understand. Now they edit it in a weird way where the awkward pauses are a little longer than they actually are.
Of course.
But
nothing's really real.
So much so that I stopped watching after like 4.5 episodes, came home and got back on my own Netflix account.
Okay.
So that I don't have to go over to your house to finish the last 3 episodes. Right. And I watched one. I was like, okay, save the last 2. Save the. Oh, it's just so fulfilling.
Yeah.
It makes me feel everything. Okay. Cringe, happiness.
There's nothing wrong with having a vehicle for that, whether it's by your own design or.
And it's the only inverted commas reality show that makes any sense. That's not super scripted because you can't script these people. You can edit it in a certain way, but they're going to say what they're going to say.
Create a narrative,
but
I get you.
But they're going to say what they're going to say, and that's a part of it. They're like, I don't think this is going to work out. I don't like you romantically.
It's just straight up.
If we could all be like that, man, come on.
I think we could all take a page from that book.
And then my last thing before I say good night and good luck. As you've seen, I've smoked a few cigarettes on this podcast because it's my birthday, and I want to feel like Edward R. Murrow or whoever. I had an interaction that could have went way south. A guy kept coming up, and he paid with 20s every time he paid. And he always tipped really well, like we were fine. Mm-hmm. The last time he came up, he ordered the same thing he had been ordering. I gave him the same change. I turn around, I do a shot of bullet with someone, and I turn and he goes, "Hey man, I gave you a 50." I was like, yeah. Number one, he just saw me do a shot.
Okay.
So I'm like, I know he didn't give me a 50 because I looked at the fucking bill.
Yeah.
So I was like, look, man, I'll check. So I got in my drawer. I don't have a 50 in there. And I didn't, you know.
Do you put the 50s and 100s down below the deck?
No. Well, I'll put the 50s and the 100s and the 20s all in the same place.
Is that too much information?
Yeah. Let's not pull the curtain back too much here.
Right.
So I did a check for him. I was like, look, man, you gave me a 20, but, you know, I did just do a shot. I didn't say this to him. I did just do a shot in front of you. So I'll eat the $30. So I gave it to him. I knew I didn't. I knew he didn't give me a 50. But I was like, man, it is what it is. If I hadn't have done that shot, which, you know, my shots at work, it's like a whisper of bullet and a lot of water. And I wasn't drunk.
You said there was a good side to this, a silver lining?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So he goes, man, he goes, right now. Yeah, he's like, man, I gave you a 50. So the wife turns. She goes, Carson, whatever the fuck his name was. She goes, you did not give him a 50. You gave him a 20.
Yeah.
He goes, damn, maybe I did.
Okay.
He goes, here. He gave me $40. I was like, hey, man, I'll give you some change. He goes, no, man, you're right. She's right. You're right. That was my bad. I'm really sorry. I was like, dude, it's okay, man. Like, if I'd have been mad about it, I'd have been like, oh, you're sorry? Fuck you, motherfucker.
Well, not to cheapen the story, I think that's great that things were sorted and you didn't have to take a hit like that, because that seems a little extreme to just kind of go like, you know.
I wasn't ready to be pissed at the guy, though.
Well, I get it, you know, and all my years of driving breezy, I've never had anybody try to do a bait and switch like that either. But, you know, out in the real world, people like present one thing, like how they have it folded or whatever.
I didn't get that from him.
Okay,
though. Yeah.
But all right, and okay.
Yeah,
I get you.
No, please go.
No, I'm just saying, you know, but there is kind of that thing in the world where they'll present it one way and do a little sleight of hand.
If I'd have felt any of that,
right,
I'd have grabbed everything out of the drawer and be like, you showed me the 50, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'd have felt that it was that way,
yeah,
then yes. But he wasn't a grifter.
Right, okay. But there is that play.
Brother, if that would have been in play at all, I'd have been like, I'll take that knife from you and beat your old ass to death with it.
Well, I mean, like I said, every once in a while, sometimes you have to remind people, you're the drunk one, I'm the sober one, and you've only given me so much, you know, or you haven't given me what you thought.
Yeah, if I'd have felt any of that energy coming off of him.
Or if anything, I've had to remind people, this is a 50, not a 5. This is 100,
I've done
not
that
10.
1,000 times more than making the mistake the other way around.
Right.
Well, thank you guys for listening this week. Hey, if you're in Denver, let us know who you are, and we'll shout you out, man. We love you guys for listening. Thank you. We'll be playing golf this Friday for the Paxtons. That's what we call it on my birthday. Should be a good time.
Right on.
And we're going to go out to Miles Monday tonight, which is sponsored by Raw Ingredients. Tybee, Georgia. Thank you guys, Kelly. I love you.
Love you too. Happy birthday.
And hey, we'll see you guys next week. Good night and good luck.